know if it was necessarily the album that I was waiting to make, but I think I made it at a time right before we were leaving on tour for the record before it, so I was sort of like, I had all these songs that I liked that would have rather have been performing, so it was that kind of situation, but I don't know, I think that bands change in a lot of ways from touring.
When I first got the opportunity to go on tour with Blitzen Trapper, I thought that singer-songwriter Eric Earley would be the perfect musician to have a conversation with about dark music. Earley's ethereal Americana is full of dark subject matter, from serial killers and thieves to the apocalypse. His knack for dichotomous songwriting conveys a character troubled with choices, similar to, yet more nuanced than Bob Dylan's You Gotta Serve Somebody. These choices include God and suicide, love and hate, heaven and earth, and much like the troubled Hank Williams, who had a secret gospel-loving alter ego named Luke the Drifter, Earley's characters oscillate between the light of redemption and re-entering the darkness of space. Then, I listened to the new Blitzen Trapper album, American Goldwing.
Do you think of American Goldwing as a dark album?
No, not really. I mean, I think aspects of it are, but I think my standard of what a dark record would be is probably totally different than most people's.
What would your standard be for a dark album?
I don't know. Like, would you say that American Goldwing is a dark album?
Absolutely not. But then when I like read the press release, and you're pretty sincere about like some hard things that influenced this album, and I'm wondering, is it that the process purged some of that stuff? Or?
Yeah, probably. Subject matter is really personal in a lot of those songs, and so I think only I would understand like exactly what I'm talking about as far as like, because it's about my life. But I think that, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't want to make a dark record. I wanted to make something that was more familiar or something.
Another thing that's curious to me about Blitzen Trapper songs is how well people respond to the dark material, and I feel like the vibe of a song like Black River Killer is the groove is fun, the material is dark. I mean, is that weird to you to play a murder ballad and to see a crowd hippie dance to these songs that are?
No, I mean, people dance to all kinds of hip hop songs and they're even darker sometimes. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think in the end, people just react to things on a very basic level, you know, like the rhythm or whatever. People like the beat, and they like the associations. People just like to feel cool, you know. I don't know. I think the subject matter of it is something that lies on the surface of it, and people kind of feel it, but it's not like... But I think Americans in general are morbid, you know. I mean, all our TV shows have to do with failure and dejection and death and despair and all this, you know, Law and Order. I don't know, just all this stuff that we like to watch or whatever.
And while the characters in Blitzen Trapper songs are dejected, they seem more lighthearted on American Goldwing. There is still a dark Americana in its rednecks and drug runners, but they are centered in a small town in the not-so-distant past, far away from chaos. This goes for the record's aesthetic as well.
So like back in the day, Blitzen Trapper albums like Field Rex, and there's a lot on Wild Mountain Nation too. There's a lot of the what I call like the down home influence, and it kind of disappeared on Destroyer, which a lot of people talked about and compared to like a lot of British rock, Pink Floyd, and more of concept type stuff, and then on this album it's back in full force.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's what I'm most comfortable with. I think Destroyer was a record that wasn't really a record. I made it over 2 years, and a lot of the songs I wrote when I was like 19, you know. there's a lot of older songs. And I think like this record is another record that I made really fast and all at one time kind of, and wrote it all together. And so it's more encapsulating a very specific time in my life, I think. A lot of it is just about last year, about the relationships I was having last year, and I think going back and being nostalgic about where I grew up and stuff is part of that too. Like a song like Fletcher, which is obviously about some rednecks just like running illegal substances or something, you know. Like it approaches these like dark American subjects, but with sort of just like yeah, you know, this is what happens or whatever. I don't know.
What was the impetus for that song? I mean, it's about a meth dealer basically, right?
I mean, it could be anything. I mean, for me, it's sort of just like the imagery is reminiscent of where I grew up, like south and west of town. There was hills, and you know, after football games, me and Mike and our buddies would go drive, you know, our Bronco or our Jeep up to the mountain, go look for trouble, you know. And so that song was just sort of like mixing that with the sort of Dukes of Hazzard, like, you know, like dudes, you know, running drugs or alcohol or whatever you want to put in that slot, you know.
So there's like two aesthetics on Goldwing for me. There's the down-home twang stuff, and then there's the hard rock. And a song like Love and Hate on Destroyer, I would also consider hard rock, but something about it, if you compare a song like Love and Hate off of Destroyer to a song like Street Fighting Sun on Goldwing, they're both hard rock and they both have these same kind of influences, it seems like, but the atmosphere isn't as dark on the songs on Goldwing.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that was a part of the recording process, or maybe even, I know your bandmate Marty likes to think about spiritual forces and vibes in the room, you know, influencing how things
probably
sound.
has more to do with my own headspace at the
Really?
time. Yeah. I mean, with Destroyer, we were touring so much, and I was in a really bad place, I think. With this record, I think I was slowly trying to come out of a bad place. You know, I was trying to like find, you know, some kind of joy. A lot of the hard rock stuff for me on the new record is just like me just enjoying the music that I love to listen to. And I know the hard rock isn't like a super popular or super trendy thing right now. You know, a lot of mellow, folky stuff is, but for me, when I'm just driving around, that's what I listen to, you know. I'm listening to like Big Star, Foghat, Ted Nugent, stuff that most people don't even like to admit they listen to. You know, and so for me, that's a lot of joy, is just being able to like play that stuff and just not care, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting to me how what was evil for our parents has become joyful nostalgia for us.
Yeah, totally. It takes you back to a time when I don't know, when you were taken care of and when things made some kind of sense or something, you know.